Yeah, well, he introduced, the oldest one is a partner in the firm, and introduced him. And the two more senior people were seated on the sofa where the junior person is two Mitches left. Now you're visiting the firm, and lo and behold, it stands out in stark relief that there is a difference in status. What is it? What am I reacting to? I've seen it 300 times, I realize, but forgive me.
He had invited Mitch to the breakfast, and just certain people went to.
Well, when he comes in at the first breakfast, it's in front of a round table with a pitcher of juice and like muffins and sweet rolls. Those are the junior people. Then when you go upstairs to the dining room, it's overlooking the Mississippi River and that famous bridge. And it's a formal dining area that's served by, white tablecloths, the whole thing. Those are the partners. So, Mitch, you have to watch all this stuff. And it tells you that there's a status order, and probably the entry and counter stage is fairly complicated. You haven't encountered it yet. You haven't done it yet, but you are going to. And the next sequence, which we'll hold off on because I would like to turn to, where did I put it? Right here. Okay, Laura Chambers, I would like you to comment, please, on your observations on your socialization experience. And one thing I noted is you talked to a friend.
Yeah, we were actually moving into a new city. Well, a city that I'd lived in before, but we were moving back into it. And so I got in contact with a lady that I'd known before, and she worked for this company. And I talked to her and told her I needed a job. I wanted a job. And she said, well, I have a position, but I really hate to do this to a friend.
Yeah.
She hired me.
Yeah. Very interesting. May I comment on what you wrote?
Sure.
I read the ones that I'm going to call on. I read, there were about 10. I read them all. And you indicated, quite strongly that you needed the job. And you had the contact with a friend, so you had an inside route, and you got the job, even though she was quite emphatic about how bad this is. Now, notice what Laura has done. Talk to a friend. And we have a lot of Anderson School graduates placed in a lot of the companies that come here to recruit, and try to find out who they are. You can ask the recruiter, have you hired Anderson School people before? And find out, and by gosh, get in touch with them. And typically, based on the feedback I get from students, typically they're willing to be informative and tell you what it's like. What's it really like to work at Google? I'm sorry, this film clip it counts, but it's not everything that happens there. Maria Ball, let's see, right there, of course, I know who you are. Peripheral role behavior. My note doesn't make sense now, but it says something like peripheral role behavior was your favorite.
The work, being the place where you do your work and you still are not going to miss it and talk.
Yeah.
And be
Some more social part.
Right.
Yeah, not required and the like. Brianna Duda, we're right there. Okay. Management. I think I can't read my writing. What would you do differently now? I can read that part.
I would talk to somebody in management because going into it was not what I thought it was going to be. And there was a situation where there was another person that was getting promoted, and I told him, I was like, you should think about it before you get into it. I was like, understand what you got to do before you go, because it's not what you think it is. And he got promoted, and then he was like, dude, I totally should have listened to you because this sucks. And I was like, I told you.
I cannot overemphasize what Brianna has just said. Really is, for those of us with a lot of work experience, it's really important to nail down what do they really want from you. And they're going to lie. And they're going to lie deliberately because they don't want you to know the negative stuff. Even though the literature is perfectly clear that an honest preview of the job, if it results in the person making an informed decision, the adjustment is going to be easier on the entry and counter stage than when you lie to the person and attract them with positive statements that don't fit the reality. I would rather have known, from my recruiter, I got really high scores on those tests that you take before, so they wanted my butt. And I was and my mother wanted me out of the house. And she signed the papers real fast. It was just a family thing, because my father had died when I was 12 and so on. But, I passed all this stuff, and he said, you're perfect for this particular job, and you're going to, work on airplanes, and you're going to fix motors, and you get foreign travel. And so I'm salivating, 17 and a half years old, and I'm dreaming of working on B-52s, which existed at that time, I think, because they're 50 years old. And what happens to me? They lose me at Lackland Air Force Base for 6 months. You didn't say, by the way, we have a couple of glitches in the system, and if you end up having your impacted wisdom teeth withdrawn at the hospital at Lackland, there is a possibility you'll get lost. So you might want to pay attention to that. That's what happened. For 6 months, I cleaned latrines and painted walls. To this day, I hate painting walls, and I just had to do that over this past weekend. Okay, Megan Capri, right there. I love the way you summarized it. You may not. I'm sure you'll remember this quotation. Quote: "I came, I saw, I conquered." What did you mean? I know what you meant. Tell us what you meant.
Basically, it was pretty easy knowing what I was getting into, and there wasn't much training to it, so it was pretty easy to master everything. And I don't know. It was really simple, and we just got bored.
Very simple to get adjusted to it.
Yeah.
Celeste Durham, right there. Celeste, I'll learn some names by doing this. Custodial responses is what you said. That's just sort of hanging on. You didn't really. Do you remember saying that? No? Oh, okay. And I don't have it printed out here, so I can't. Okay, Sharon Apodaca, right there. 11 years experience before you took the position you were describing, and then I summarized by success, failure, ask more questions. Did you mean that you would have wanted to ask more questions during the early stage?
Absolutely. To rest on the circumstance, I was interviewed, they came looking for me, and the day that I was shown the facility that I would be managing, in the parking lot, this board member says, "Oh, by the way, they may not really want us in there because the former director had filed a lawsuit for discrimination," and took me inside, introduced me, and left. I was like, "Oh boy."
That was
it worked out.
Okay. Yeah, that stood out to me. It stood out.
I definitely asked a lot more questions, and definitely asked to contact the person I'd be replacing.
And that caught my attention quite quickly because it was a beautiful example of how not to do it right. And watch this yourself when you are out there, whether you get the information and people appear to withhold information. Last one, Larry Hernandez. There you are. What happened, I remember you commenting, you talked to your father because he worked for the company, right?
He works in the same industry.
Not the same company, that's right, same industry.
Yeah. So,
And
I don't know. I put a lot of my trust in our parents and their decision making, so it's not that necessarily be good for them. Probably would work out for me too.
yeah, but did it?
Yeah, I'm still with that company.
You still with that company?
Getting a promotion.
Wow, congratulations. Cool. Now that's an example of socialization success. You got some information, at least about the industry in advance, and you can calibrate whether you're going to fit with the industry, not necessarily the company. And then having said what you've said, that it's worked out for you, you're at the metamorphosis stage, you're in the metamorphosis stage, and by the way, because you're getting the promotion next week, you restart the socialization process. And what is your anticipation now? What is your expectation of the new position? It'd be great for you to report back. I'll have to try to remember this. 2 weeks is a long time. So, what do you expect?
I don't know. I mean, more hours, but more money, but and like you said, it's going to be learning a completely different aspect of what I'm doing.
Right.
There'll be more responsibility.
He's getting a promotion next week. So this, I'll try to remember 2 weeks, unfortunately, is a long time for me. After the exam, it'd be interesting for you to report about what happened in the transition, and you'll have about 3 weeks. Okay.